Under the fair tax, everybody's the same. No one pays any tax until they live above the poverty level. I will live way above the poverty level. I'll pay a lot of tax. These people, retired people, fixed income people, won't pay a dime of tax. The fair tax does not tax used products. These people buy used cars, buy used houses, buy used appliances, buy used clothing. You can spend way above the poverty level under the fair tax and still not spend a dime if you spend your money wisely on used things. That's how the fair tax treats low-income, fixed-income, blue-collar workers. And let me tell you, see that tax. But they added a little bit of tax. Now, if Lufthansa buys that plane, Lufthansa has to pay all those taxes. If US Air over in America buys that plane, they rebate all those taxes, and Lufthansa gets that plane pretty cheap. US Air gets that plane pretty cheap. Now, if we build that same plane in Washington State, a little company called Boeing, of course, Boeing has got corporate income taxes. Boeing has to match Social Security for all their employees. Boeing has to have an army of lawyers and CPAs to figure their taxes out so that they can spend their part of the $300 billion a year that the private sector spends every year to figure out their income tax returns. And that has Exxon lubricants in that plane. Exxon has corporate taxes, Social Security matching, an army of lawyers and CPA. It has DuPont coatings in that plane. DuPont has corporate income taxes, Social Security matching, and all that stuff. That plane, 30% of the value of that plane are the taxes that have been paid along the way. Now, are we going to rebate those taxes before we sell that airplane to British Air? No. Are we the only country out of the 30 major countries in the world who don't do that? Yes. With the fair tax, all of that goes away. You don't even have to have the mechanism to figure out the rebate. It's gone. We are suddenly the most competitive market in the world. And how will Airbus have to compete with Boeing under those circumstances? Make their aircraft in North America. How will Mercedes compete under those circumstances? They'll have to build the Mercedes here. How will Sony have to compete under those circumstances? They'll have to build stuff here. Who does that help? Low income, blue collar, union members who today are losing their jobs as we export their jobs overseas. These are the effects of the fair tax when applied specifically to the thinking of your typical democratic elected official. These are the things that actually occur under the fair tax. And I haven't even given you the Tennessee speech. I haven't even told you what's good about this for wealthier people and industry. I'm just talking about the jobs for your typical blue-collar, low-income people here. That's the fair tax. That's why it's good for everybody. That's why it is a non-partisan proposal to replace the system of collecting taxes, which has dragged this country down and which is irreparably unfixable.
How do the states get their revenue?
The states get their revenue exactly the same way they do today. The fair tax replaces the federal personal income tax, gift, estate, all of those things. The fair tax is actually collected by the state sales tax authorities. Most states have a sales tax. Connecticut has a sales tax. So the states collect it. They keep their sales tax part, and they send the rest on to the federal government. Notice how you now have the state of Connecticut between you and the federal tax collector. Today, the federal tax collector reaches out to you in a very friendly way and shakes you down personally with that 1040. With the fair tax, your sales taxes are collected just like they are here in Connecticut. They go to the state capital, and the state capital sends the Fed piece on to them. So the federal government will be making sure the state of Connecticut does its job of collecting taxes. You are free of all regulatory issues, of all scrutiny, of all audits, unless you're a retailer. You're done. You have no more connection to the federal government. Taxes, anything. You just pay the tax when you choose to spend money. Yes, sir?
It doesn't repeal the tax in the state.
That's correct. If your state chooses to continue to have its income tax, it may. Of course, states that have income taxes go into recessions the deepest and come out of recessions the slowest. The states that flourish the most in the U.S. are Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Washington, New Hampshire. They don't have state income taxes. It's a good opportunity for you to educate your state legislators on get rid of these income taxes. Let's just have a sales tax for the state and a sales tax for the feds, and we're done. It's the least expensive way for a government to collect money. It is the most transparent, it is the most clear, it's the easiest thing to do. Yes, sir?
So what is the like percentage compared to like current taxes? The current tax or current?
Absolutely. There's the big question. That's why I made you look at your dollars. Okay? That's why I had you do that. So everybody's got their own number in their head now, right? Everybody's got their number that I had you think about earlier for how much money you had to earn to hold that dollar. If you replace personal, gift, estate, capital gains, alternative minimum, earned income tax credit, Social Security, Medicare, self-employment, and corporate taxes, if you replace all of those, and you want the federal government to get exactly the same amount of money that it does today, it's 23 cents out of every dollar you spend. It's 23 cents out of every dollar you spend. Now, what number did you guys come up with earlier? What was your percentage?